Hi, it's the 29th of August 2018 at 1:45 p.m. I've been thinking about socialism a lot lately, and I get the feeling that us MGTOW are a victim of cultural Marxism, which I guess is a prelude to socialism and what have you. So I get the feeling we're caught up in this very old sort of ideology. I mean, let's face it, they tried socialism in Russia in 19 whatever it was, 19 or whatever, 1917. That's where it all started. They've abandoned it long ago. And you look at all the other socialist countries around the world, and you look at them, they're poor places, and you wonder why on earth we would want to pursue such an ideology. But I think the truth of the matter is socialism favours the elite. I don't think there's any doubt about that. It's in a socialist society, the elite are very rich and very powerful, and the poor are very poor and have no power whatsoever. So the whole idea of it is based toward, is flavoured toward the elite. Yet the masses seem to embrace it. They get it in their head that it's what do they call it? Equality of outcome. Yeah, that we're all equal, and that there should be an equality of outcome. It's a great theory, but it doesn't ever seem to work. I mean, I just don't think I've ever seen. I mean, unless it's a particularly tyrannical regime. Yeah, the masses are all equally poor. that's the truth of the matter. But we seem to be going for it for some reason, and I think I think it's largely due to what we look at. And I've noticed there are basically two ways of looking. Well, there's lots of ways of looking at life, I guess. But what I'm talking about is you can look up to those who have more than you, or you can look down to those who have less than you and are less fortunate than you. If you go for the former idea, that oh God, look how wealthy they are, poor us. It seems to you end up in a thinking a certain way. If you look at people who are less fortunate than you think an entirely different way. And I've noticed that, as time's gone on, people, particularly in Australia, we're a wealthy country. People here, I mean, there's money here, okay? It has been for a long time. Very stable government, we're a resource country and what have you. And so there's a lot of money here. But any number of people won't look to other people in other countries and think, I'm pretty lucky. No, they look at the top dogs, the people who are making a lot of money, and grumble about how poorly treated they're being, or how poorly they're being treated. And I've been thinking about it. It's sort of embroiled. I think, I don't want to go on and on about narcissism again, but I think narcissism is a big part of it. I think that's a tool to the elite promoting themselves and what have you. And they're appealing to the narcissism in the masses, those underneath them. And in the end, I'm convinced it'll just impoverish everybody, apart from a very few. And that wealth divide is growing rapidly by the year. But, with having said all of that, and I mean, you could take a view that it's, that we're all doomed to being, censored out of this and that and something else, and that we're just being downtrodden. You could take that view. I don't. I'm looking at it differently now. I've actually remember that movie War of the Worlds, where the I think Tom Cruise starred in it. Where the aliens invaded and they were this most awesome, frightening, just destroyed everything, and nobody could do a damn thing about it. And right at the end of the movie, right at the very end, they said, yeah, well, we're dying. when all this was happening. It wasn't as if, humans overcame them, bugs overcame them. The environment, the atmosphere, just, as soon as they reached, they started getting diseases and their immune systems couldn't handle, the conditions on Earth. And so after all of this horror and apparent despair, there was no need to worry at all because they were just dying, and then they just all died, and that was the end of it. Rather unusual end to a movie. It's sort of what, I don't even know how you described it, but it wasn't a big battle or anything else. No, it was a big battle, but it was just, we were getting killed, and then in the end, bang, they just all died. I suspect the same thing will happen with narcissism and the rise of socialism. I think that's actually what's happening at the moment. We men are just, you have to say, we're just being clobbered. We have no power that any sort of. We had a men's rights march here in Australia last week, and it was organised by a YouTuber apparently, and she got together. I don't know what happened with it. 1,000 or a couple of thousand marches, and of course the feminists were all, men were marching for men's rights. How ridiculous to think that in this day and age men have got to march for rights. It's a retrograde step. And it'd be like women being, having the vote taken away from them or something. I mean, it's not a progressive step. It's that desperate. But the feminists, who are the face of narcissism and cultural Marxism, no, we can't have this. No, we'll you rapists, misogynists, blah blah blah. And I didn't take any interest in it. I don't think anybody else took any interest in it either. But the whole thing is, it's like that War of the Worlds. It's like that march towards socialism that's inevitable. And I look at it and I think there couldn't actually be a worse time to launch such a move, of socialism and what have you, because we're quickly, as we're going into a future that's toxic to it. It just can't survive it. The very nature of so many more people will need to become creative, and offer value to people. The days of having a job, look, they might last another 30, 40, 50 years. But they're increasingly going to go, and younger generations are going to realise it and think, no, I'm not going to take the career path. It's going nowhere. Eventually I'll find myself out of a job. So they'll be forced into the position of becoming creative. The kids, essentially, are going to have to become creative. You can't become creative and be narcissistic. The two just don't go hand in hand. There's a very simple reason for it. If the narcissists, they have no problems, they are perfect as they are, and if I'm fine, there's nothing wrong with me, you've got the problem, you can't create anything because you can't improve yourself. If you can't look at yourself and say, no, that's wrong, this is wrong, you can't improve it. So you can't, you're not even going to dare create anything because, well, you're fine to begin with. So, I look at what I do. I look at my videos, for example. Quality-wise, they've been rubbish. And I've got the green screen. I've had green coming through. The sound hasn't been right and what have you. But I just got started, and I knew a lot of the quality wasn't good. I'm trying to improve the quality of it now, but and that's the whole thing. And through doing all of this, and I'm acutely aware of it. I'm right here at the coalface. I'm the, what younger people will have to go. I'm living the life that younger people will have to go through. And what I'm discovering, particularly as time goes by, it's you don't focus on the back end, a quality of outcome. What's the point of me thinking in terms of a quality of outcome? I'm thinking about opportunity of input. It's a very equal opportunity. you know, in all honesty, for a few $100 you can set yourself up on YouTube. Probably not even a few hundred, a couple of hundred. And then by adding a little more money to it, you can improve your quality. You can. I'm actually I'm not producing a business here, but this is essentially is a prelude to a business, because it's giving me an opportunity, you know, to learn to speak unscripted. It's also giving me an opportunity to get all my technical stuff right. I mean, I'm even thinking about getting a camera. I had a running chat with Griff last night, which was interesting because, you know, he knows a lot about cameras. And we're just chatting about this camera and that camera. I said, oh look, I've been watching YouTube. You know, they suggest either a Canon or a Sony. He said, look, why don't you consider the Panasonic? You know, and flicked me a video, which was, you know, and was saying, you know, it offers this, and that. And so, and it was sort of getting out. It was good because it was something to talk about, something to be involved in. And through the conversation, it reminded me, when I was setting up the business with my wife, I used to have a friend here in town who was used to get me software. For the most part, this little town is just, they can't even use a computer. But this guy was right up to speed. He knew his stuff. And I was just lucky. And I remember I used to go there and visit him. And, you know, we'd chat about this, that, and something else, and, you know, what this could do. And it was just like, the world's your oyster. You can just do anything. But, you know, now, you know, I look at WordPress, you know, websites and what have you. I mean, they're just, anybody can do them. Yeah, it takes a bit of effort and whatever. But anybody, and the tools are just, you don't need web designers, you don't need, to get started. I mean, you might get somebody to do a makeover later if you make some money out of it. But to get started, no, you just get started. And these days, it's just particularly with WordPress. Anything you want to do, you'll find a plugin for it, or some way to achieve what you want, and it's just incredible. But you how can I put this? Yeah, the days of where you go to a job and you have very little influence or sway on which, you know, the outcome, that you've got none. Here, maximised, and you can involve others. You can, and it's really quite alive and with it. I always thought it was. I was just unlucky enough, I suppose. I had, in one sense, my wife was supportive. In another sense, she just argued against everything I did. So what she gave, she took away. We ended up with a net zero. But with just a little, you know, so long as you don't get the negative, and this is a big clue, as long as you don't get the negative input, what positive input you get advances you. But the trick to it, I think, is you don't get the negative. Just it's an old futures market saying, just don't lose money. I know it sounds strange, but that's what it is. You just don't lose the energy, because if the partner you have in any of this is so important. If they're detracting, you know, if you're putting in energy and they're taking away from it, you just end up going nowhere, which is what happened to me for a long time. Years, 25 years. Went nowhere. I've learned a bit, but compared to what's happening now, you know, look, all I'm saying is, if you organise your mind properly, for anybody that gets into this situation, yeah, it's all there, it's all possible, but you've got to be careful who you do things with and what have you. But look, anyway, I don't know how relevant this is to MGTOW, but I don't know. I think it's probably, yeah. I think it's sort of what the way forward. I think this is where we're going. Yeah, it's not the equality of outcome. It's the equal opportunity of doing anything you want. It's all here. Huge markets. Got access to huge markets. It's just whether you can actually get yourself organised to get to those markets. Nothing's stopping you. It's just up to you. It's up to me. Anyway, we'll see how we go, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.